Namaste. Welcome to the Conscious Convo podcast. I am your host and teacher, Pippa Leslie. I'm here to share everything I learn, see, and channel. This podcast is for the conscious and curious beings who are ready to dive deeper into spirituality. I am so grateful you are here. Hi guys, welcome back. So I'm here with the lovely Sophia LePage today. She has been a big inspiration on my journey, and I was going to introduce her myself, but I think the work she does for us on the planet is incredible. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, and I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode today. I think you're going to really take a lot from it. So hi, Sophia.
Hi Pippa. Oh, and hello everyone who's listening. It's so good to be here. Yeah, so I am a NLP master practitioner, a timeline therapy master practitioner, a pace coach, a feminine embodiment coach, and a feminine leadership coach. So it's like a lot of things.
It's amazing. It's so amazing.
Yeah, it's been a gradual expansion of my offerings and of the work that I do over the last probably 5 years. So these days I help women connect with their feminine energy, feel more juiciness, pleasure, turn on, and aliveness, and clear all the things that are in the way of them living the life that they want and having the love that they want.
It's absolutely beautiful. Like, what drew me to you was just how you flow with authenticity. Like, obviously you've been through the journey and you're still working on yourself, and you still get those triggers and you still have things that come up that need healing. We all have that, but you still show up through that. Like, there's no like, oh, it's just the and just the way you move and the way you're so connected to your body. It's like, and then when you were obviously on your health journey and I reached out to you about your health and stuff, like, you literally were like one of the people that I'd wake up, see your post, and I'd be like, right, I'm going for a run. Or like, I'm going to eat healthy today because I've just seen Sophia's page. So it was always like, really, it was just always an inspirational, like, whenever I saw you post, it gave me that kick up the bum. So I want to say thank you for that. I'm really grateful for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I'm so happy to receive that. Yeah, I think for me, it's been for a long part of my life, not for all of my life, but up until my very late 20s, I didn't do a lot of things. Like I stopped. If I didn't know for sure that I could succeed, I wouldn't do it. Yeah. And so by the end of my 20s, I had so many regrets of like things that I wished that I'd done that I hadn't done. And it was at 29 deciding, okay, like, I need to quit this story of like, I'm too old to do this, or it's too late for that. And so my ex-husband and I moved to London, and it seemed like at that time, like being 29 and uprooting my whole life and starting all over again felt like such a huge thing to do at that age. But now being 42, I'm like, 29 is so young. So I think that really switched me into a space of, it's like, let's not mess around. I want to live my life to the maximum. I want to reach to my highest potential. And in order for me to do that, I have to be able to put myself in uncomfortable situations. I have to like push my edge. I have to follow through and take action instead of just like dreaming and hoping, and also get to do it in a way that can be really feminine, which is not always about, pushing it, but having the vision, taking the aligned action, and then being able to be in a space to like relax, trust that it's coming, trust that I'm taking the right action, and that it's going to come to me, and be able to receive it when it does.
Oh yeah, it's like having an open heart chakra, isn't it? For that receiving, of being worthy of receiving as well. Because for me, I'm always in service to others, and I used to think, I'm open to receiving. And when you just let go of all of it, you don't even think about it. It's not even in. And that's kind of when your manifestations happen, because you've literally let go of the when, what, the how. It's in it. it sounds simple, but when you do start to just let go of something, it just kind of flows easier, and you then flow easier. And I think with, especially with your like movement that you do, the feminine movement and stuff, it's like, one thing I used to think about was, putting yourself out there, like, in your heels, in your dance, in your flow, and you showing your body and stuff like that. And I think there's that stigma on social media of, women find it triggering, and I think that's a good thing, isn't it? Because if I always say to women, if I'm triggering you, like, I'm grateful, and I hope you move through it, because I'm here as a little hurdle for you to get, because I've reached out to women in the last year. I'd probably say more last year when I was separated from Chris, because I was in that more of a, I'm getting triggered because I'm in a situation that made me sad because I was away from Chris. But if a woman was online talking about something, or she'd done a post and it triggered me, I would work on it, and then I'd message her and tell her, and the response I got was so loving and so beautiful. And I think that's what I love seeing in women, especially as like a collective, is that if I was triggered by, either by you, by whoever it was, if I can just reach out and be authentic and have that love received back, you've never triggered me, but you've triggered me in a good way, like a positive thing, where, like I said, I've seen you post and I'm like, right, I need to go eat healthier and go for a run. It's like, that's the key, isn't it? If you're showing up authentically, you are helping someone in so many ways that you don't even know.
Yeah, that's right. And I think I love your view on triggers, and I share that also. I feel like a trigger is always just giving us, or whoever's being triggered, the information about where there's something that's unexpressed within the self. So where there's possibility to be that thing also that you're seeing in someone else. Yeah. And I feel like when we can see triggers as, instead of like, oh, this means they have something that I don't have, and I'm never going to get it, that also allows for such healing of the sisterhood wound, right? Mm-hmm. It allows for women to come back together. It allows for us to put ourselves in places with people who are further along than we are. That's something that I'm loving. We've just relocated to my husband and I to Austin in Texas, and I'm putting myself in rooms with women who are much further ahead in their businesses than I am, or in their lives than I am in some ways, and in other ways I may be further ahead. And because I'm able to navigate that trigger space of like seeing another woman doing something that I want to do, feel excited about and celebrate her, and also feel like the excitement about, oh, this is evidence of what I can also do, and this is inspiring me to move towards that. And if there's any trigger that comes up, I'm like, okay, well, where am I not owning what I want? Where am I not embodying that? Where am I not stepping into it? And why am I not, if I'm not? Because often we can have like so many stories about why X, Y, or Z isn't possible for us now, or later, or ever.
Yeah, it's so true. Because I remember when it was years ago when I first started my spiritual journey, I would see like spiritual teachers, and I would get triggered and be like, the same kind of mindset of, I'm not where they are, I'll never be where they are, I've started too late, I'm doing similar things to them, and it's the same kind of thoughts. But now I think, no, like, these people that I follow that do have loads of followers, that do have books, that do have courses, that have all these things that I desire, is the fact that actually they did it. Why can't I do it? And the thing is, Sophia, Pippa, whoever, you have a unique expression. We all have a unique DNA. We all have a unique blueprint. So that's the key, isn't it? That's the whole point. Like, none of us, a lot of our work is overlapped because we know our truth. We know the universal truth. So we're expressing it in our way, how we see it in our perspective. And that's the point, is that we all see life slightly different because of how we've been brought up, our surroundings, our culture, our beliefs, our husbands, our wives, our children. So you bring such a uniqueness to your work and to life and whatever you do in this world. So now these spiritual teachers, when I see them and I'm like, oh, they're doing so well, they've got this, they've got that, I'm like, I can have that. I'm worthy of that. That's available to me. It's unlimited. There's no limits to it. So it was definitely a big quantum shift for me when I kind of went from, oh, I'm never going to get there. I'm too far behind. It's not about getting first in the race. It's about enjoying the journey, and like I've noticed that with walking and running, because I'm always in the car going to get the kids, or, because I'm in this new country. I've moved to New Zealand, as my listeners know. And I think when I'm running or walking or even now bike riding, I'm seeing things that I'm like, I've never seen that. Like, it's just a lovely house, a lovely tree, a park. And that's the thing with life. If you rush it, if you're doing 1,000 miles an hour down a road, down a path, you're going to miss all the things down it. Where if you just take your time, I now know that I really want to write a book. I have several books I'd like to write, but I don't know what they're going to be like. I don't know what they're going to say, but I know it's all about timing. I know it's like I'm 32. I might end up becoming an author when I'm 50. I don't know. And I'm just letting go of that. So I did see the article that you actually posted on Facebook about you being the number 42, which is your age, but that actually doesn't, even mean anything, and that you actually don't look that. You actually look like you're in your late 20s. So it's just like, I think the stigma around women getting older as well. There's this kind of, I don't know if you've noticed this, is like, oh, when you hit 40, it's downhill. When you hit, it's everything's about numbers, isn't it? Everything's about these midlife crises, or and then you've just literally done it in a natural way because you're so connected to yourself and you're looking after yourself and you love yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's a really big part of it. And I also feel like it's like whatever we believe is what we create. So in NLP, we talk about this as like, and you've probably heard of this, everyone, like limiting beliefs, right? We call them also limiting decisions in NLP, because in order to have a belief, you have to decide that you're going to have that belief. So before you have a belief, you make a decision to believe it. So we do a lot around like clearing limiting decisions, and our beliefs around aging are often limiting decisions, because our cells regenerate completely, right, every 7 years. So why should we suddenly
get older
after 40 start aging in this way? Why should we start aging at whatever point? We have, and our unconscious mind holds the blueprint of perfect health. So we have already the blueprint within us of perfect health. We have cells that will support us to continue and stay young as long as we want. And it's only our beliefs around, well, this is what's going to happen, that creates that. So if we can change our beliefs, and I was really fortunate to read a book when I was in my teen years that talked about this, about beliefs around aging and how they're just our beliefs. And I really accepted it. Like, I read it and I accepted it. And I was like, yeah, this is just, I'm choosing not to believe this. And I've never feared aging. I haven't, I look a lot younger than what I am. And I think a lot of it has to do with that. And the other piece of it is that I've also done a lot of, like you said, I'm really connected with my body, and I've done a lot of feminine embodiment work and a lot of emotional clearing work, a lot of energy clearing work. I feel like the more we're holding things, we're holding on to stagnant energy, we're holding on to suppressed emotions, that's so aging. So it's like clearing all of that out, right? It's like keeping your energy young. And then your energy is what feeds the cells. Yeah. So if you keep your energy young and fresh and clear, then that's also going to express itself physically. And you know this, right? You're an energy healer. So this is the, another piece of the puzzle. And the final piece is, it's like whatever you want to do, okay, whatever age you are, today is a perfect day to begin.
Yeah. I love that. Again, I think there is that fear with women about getting older and getting, saggy boobs and getting, but it's just, is that true? Well, no. It's like, if you don't believe that about yourself, like I stopped wearing a bra about 3 years ago because it just used to aggravate me, like just because I've got quite big boobs, and it used to aggravate me. I'd get sores here, and
Mm.
I woke up one day and I said, my body doesn't want to wear a bra anymore. And I honored that. And I remember like my mum saying, oh, you'll get saggy boobs. Because again, just the things that people say because they're conditioned that way. And she didn't mean it in a nasty way. It's just, and then other people like friends would say, oh, you need to wear a bra to support your boobs. And I'm like, what did we do 1,000 years ago? We used to didn't have, but we didn't have bras. Like and I'm not saying to women don't wear a bra. It's your choice. But for me, it just, and I wear sports bras, because I run and stuff for support. But it was so freeing. Like women say to me, oh, at the end of the day, the best feeling is just taking your bra off. And I say to them, imagine that feeling 24/7. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like there's always I'll feel happier when my bra's taken off. No, why don't you just feel happy with your bra off consistently? It's like, I was chatting to a client yesterday about that happiness. She said, I just want to be happy. So I was like, so I just picked my slipper up and I said, so here's happiness. That's not, you don't pick up happiness. I was like, happiness is everything that's coming into your vision. It's the inside. It's how you feel on an inside feeling. And it's the same with, I'll be happy when I've got bigger boobs. I'll be happy when I've got, younger skin. I'll be happy when my hair's at this length. And we're constantly, as women, looking for the next thing to make us feel more beautiful, make us feel more sexier. And I think, but you've got all that tool within you. You've literally got everything you need within you.
Yeah, that's right. And it's I feel like it's a balancing point because the feminine, um if we think about the nature of the feminine, which is feminine energy is receiving energy. It's the energy that is masculine energy is penetrative energy, right? So there's a deep desire, a deep longing of the feminine to be filled, to receive. So but then there's like the balancing that with like the presence with what you already have right here, right now, the gratitude and the happiness for what's already here, because there's so much to be grateful for, no matter what your circumstances are. Like even just being alive is something, to be grateful for. There's many things is great. Be grateful for the air that you breathe. Be grateful for the sun on your skin. Like, it's not like you can only be grateful if you have like millions of dollars in the bank, And so it's like holding, like how I speak about it with my clients is like holding the gratitude for what you have at the same time as holding the desire for and the excitement for the other things that are coming. So that way it's not coming from the place like that scarcity or that place of lack or that place of like, I need this in order to be happy. It's like, I'm already happy. And what other exciting stuff can I add on top of that? It's going to make it even more juicy and yummy and but it's like the frequency of more, not the frequency of this will get me to just enough.
Yeah. And it kind of, I'm wanting to bring up the whole, everything now is about get bigger lips, get bigger boobs, have Botox, and obviously the celebrities in our world are kind of portraying that as well. But I think it's around about the money. It's about, generating the money. But I think it's a pain point, isn't it? These companies are doing what, as a marketing strategy is going to a woman's pain point. Oh, have you, are you not happy with these small boobs? Come in and have a boob job. And it's like, it's not that I'm not against it. It's just that I think if women could just look at themselves and say, I'm just perfect how I am. It's like, I remember about 5 years ago, I was in a toxic relationship, and I remember like I was going to the gym all the time. I was my skinniest. I was like, I'd lost loads of weight. And I found the picture that I took of myself in the mirror. And my body looks great, but I was so unhappy. I was like so unhappy.
Yeah.
You could tell I was just like, I wasn't beaming like I am now. I was just really, really like, I felt dark, like I just wasn't happy. And I was on my spiritual journey, but very early on. And I think to myself, but even then, when I looked in the mirror, I wasn't happy with where I was. So it kind of reminded me that even though like my body shape now isn't where I want it to be, I'm still honoring it and giving it love and giving it gratitude and saying how much I just adore my body. And that's the key. Again, I'll be happy when I'm at this weight. I'll be happy when I'm at this figure. It's like, no, I'm happy now in the figure that I'm in. And whatever, my body's changing every day. Again, you mentioned, Sophia, like your cells are changing like every 7 years, but you don't realize that you're a different person every time you wake up, because your body's generated overnight, especially with women with your cycle, like you're consistently changing. So just wake up, and you might feel a bit icky, when I'm during my period, I'm like, oh, I can feel it. I feel blah, but it's just honoring the fact that this is part of my cycle. It's okay. I'm loved. I'm supported. What do I need? What does my body need? So it's honoring that I need something in different days. So yeah, and I just think with all this stuff out there now, is it just, women just, having all these different things done to themselves. And, I would never get anything done. I would never have anything that was artificial put in me, because I don't want that in my body. I've been given this vessel. I chose this vessel because it was meant for me in this lifetime. So I don't want to change it. I don't want to alter it in that way. But I do feel for the women who can't look at themselves in the mirror and see how beautiful they are, or see them how I would see them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I went through for many years, like had such body image issues and struggled with eating disorders and like, weight fluctuations. And I remember like just, looking in the mirror and just only being able to see what I didn't like. Like I had and people would say, like I'd have partners, they'd be like, oh, you're so beautiful or anything like this. And I just think, well, you're just saying that because you love me. Like, and I just couldn't believe it. Or I even went to therapy at one point, and the therapist had me circle, like they had these diagrams of different shaped women, like at different weights. And she said, circle the one that you are. And I circled one. And then she said to me, you're not that one. You're this other one that was slimmer than that. And I just thought she was making it up. I was just like, oh, she's just saying that because like she's just trying to trick me into thinking that, like it was just like she had there was no reason, like for her to have that agenda at all. And it was so many things that I had to do to get through that. But a big realization I had some years ago, maybe only like 3 years ago, perhaps, was I was on a solo mushroom journey, magic mushrooms, and I was like with my body, and suddenly I'm like, wow, like you're amazing. Like you have done so much for me, and you're pretty healthy, and you get me around, and you're pretty strong. You may not look exactly how I want, but you like get me through life. And I thought, gosh, like, and I've been so mean to you, like so mean. And I thought, if you were a child and I spoke to you like I speak to you, how would you grow? Would you really be able to reach your full potential? Or would the child grow up and have all these issues? And I was like, that child is not going to thrive. And I had that moment of what might be possible if, instead of criticizing you, instead of hating you, instead of picking out all the things that are wrong with you or that I perceive to be wrong with you, that I actually loved you and celebrated you and like, encouraged you and enjoyed you. What might be possible then? Like, how might I be able to experience even more health? How might I be able to reach like kind of get to my optimal space, right? That's optimal for my body, that's healthy, not just being skinny, but like healthy and vibrant for my body, if I was speaking to you in this really loving way and nourishing you with love, eating healthily because I love you, not because I don't want to be fat or I'm like punishing myself. And that was such a turning point for me in my relationship with my body, in my relationship with pleasure, in my relationship with presence, in my relationship with life, like being able to experience more pleasure in my life in general. And it shifted so many things for me. It freed up so much energy. And after that is when once I decided to shift up my diet, it all happened very, very quickly for me, getting into kind of like the best shape I feel like I've ever been in. But it's not really about that. It's more about like, it didn't even matter before that, because I was like, I feel really good, and I had the feeling first. And then there was a point where I was like, okay, now I'd like my body to match up with that feeling. And it happened really easily. And because I had I was doing it from a loving space. And that, I think, is so important. And I really wish that every woman could experience that, because I do feel like we've grown up in such a society that's put so much emphasis on the physical for women. And it's not, like some of the most beautiful women I know, it's not their outward beauty that makes them beautiful. It's really not. It's their inner beauty that shines through, that makes them radiant, that has them be that woman that you're like, I want to spend time with you. Like, I feel amazing in your presence. And, it's such a joy to be with you. That's real beauty to me.
Yeah, I always kind of go back to nature. How, like, do you think like lionesses kind of look at another lioness and go, oh, well, you've got nicer paws than me and your tail's better than me? It's like, no, they're just existing because their dharma is to exist and survive. And it's same with men. Do you think the male lions, obviously they have standoffs and fights to take the women, but it's, I think as a human species, we're just so complex. And then we look at someone else and think, oh, you've got a figure I want. So it's, that comparison and not having that own inner love for yourself. And it's hard. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say you can wake up tomorrow and absolutely love yourself. It takes consistent work, and it takes consistent love. Like, if I say to people, imagine like when you start dating someone and you just like, you say, I'm so in love with them, and like you feel that love for that person. But the thing is, my spiritual teacher, Wayne Dyer, says you can't give away what you don't have. So if someone was to squeeze you, what would come out of you? And I always think, for me, I want it to be love and kindness and joy and peace. And it's thinking like, but if you're full of hatred and bitterness and resentment and jealousy, it's like that, those emotions, just saying those emotions right now actually just makes me go, oh, they're just like, I think they're meant to be low vibrational tones when you say them. Like if you say the word anger, it's like, oh. But if you say love, it's like, oh, love. It's just, you start to see the different emotions and how it is about healing, isn't it? Like, the self-love journey is about healing. And like we mentioned earlier, the triggers and trauma, it's all those things weigh you down. And when you start to let go, and one big thing that I can recommend, and you probably do this as well, Sophia, is forgiveness. Like forgiveness is a huge part of letting go and letting that heaviness out of your body.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's one of those things where, like, I've had a client say, well, if I forgive this person, or if I forgive myself, I'm just condoning it, like I'm making it okay. And I don't agree. It's not about that. It's like forgiveness is something that you do that just, it clears the energy. It just sets you free. And it's just kind of like, for me, forgiveness, why I think forgiveness is so hard in our society is because there's so much judgment.
Yeah.
And we've grown up in a society that's taught us judgment keeps us safe. So if we judge something, that we're taking a stand for we're the opposite of that, right? So it's like, I judge X because I am not like that. And so it's how people have learned to kind of like find the people that are similar to them, because it's like joining together based on what, if your judgments aligned, which most people call values, right? Values and morals, which are actually just your judgments a lot of the time. And so we're in this very judgmental society. So forgiveness does not go with judgment, because forgiveness comes from empathy and compassion. And if you're judging, there's not compassion or empathy there. And I think that it's really important, as part of us setting ourselves free, as part of also creating a world where people feel safe to be themselves. And, you know, you talked a lot about like authenticity and being your authentic self. If you live in a world of judgment where you're judging, or you're fearing being judged, or other people are judging, it's very hard to feel safe to be yourself. So being able to anchor into empathy and compassion, understanding that, you know, people are coming with all their like their trauma, their past, their wounding, their past lives, their inner child, the way they were parented, the stories that they heard, the beliefs that they've accepted, the emotions they've suppressed, is creating them to be in a certain way and to kind of react in their lives in a certain way until they become conscious of these things. So much happening in the unconscious that they're not aware of. That's when when we understand that, then we get to not take it so personally, and then we get to forgive. And we get to forgive ourselves also for the times, you know, because I was like a super judger in my past. So judgmental. I was like the most judgmental and so hard on myself, super critical, you know, super judged myself more than anybody else judged me. And it wasn't until I had an affair and blew up my first marriage, and had to kind of like come out the other side of that and go, whoa, what did I do?
And also carrying guilt and shame with it as well. I was going to mention, like, women carry so much guilt and shame in the body.
Yeah, exactly. And also like having to go, well, am I really a terrible person? I don't think I am. I you know, I didn't necessarily make the best choices, but I was like, but I did that. Like, I had to realize at some point, I did that from a place of pain. I did that from a place of not knowing there was a different choice. I did that from a place of not having, you know, of feeling totally trapped in my life, feeling completely disempowered, feeling helpless, feeling totally lost, totally confused. And so I did the best that I could at the time, and my best wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, it's like, well, am I going to beat myself up about this forever? Or am I going to learn from this? Am I going to grow? Am I going to forgive myself and move forward and do better? And that's what I decided to do. And I'm really grateful I did, because if I didn't, I certainly wouldn't be here today with you, and I wouldn't be doing the work that I do, and I wouldn't have created such a safe space for so many women who feel like they've messed up in their lives and they've done these things and they're carrying all that guilt and shame, to be able to be like, oh, wait, actually, maybe there's a way through this. You know, maybe I can become stronger and better. Maybe there's a gift in this. And that, I think, is really important in life.
There's a quote that I heard ages ago, and you probably might have heard it before. It's, forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds that to the heel that has crushed it. So it's just about, like, you know, it's so beautiful. It's just, that's just so beautiful how you say it. And it reminds me of something that I kind of connect to every day, is about, you can only meet people as deeply as you've met yourself. So if you aren't forgiving yourself and doing the forgiveness and the non-judgmental work, it's for me, like, I'm always trying to go deeper within myself so I can help my clients on a deeper level, because again, that's where the kind of the big shifts happen. And holding on to not forgiving others is, you hear it all the time, don't you? Well, they did this and that's just not excusable. But the thing is, deep down, they want to forgive them, because they don't want to sit around with those emotions anymore, because they are eating them alive, literally. You know, I have clients coming in for hypnosis, and I'm sat with them for hours talking about their life story. And you can tell when they first come in, they're like, they just tell me the little bits and bobs about their life. And then we get into the real nitty gritty about affairs and you know, things that are done wrong, or just anything, traumatic stuff, abuse, things like that. And that's when kind of it starts to really come out. And that's why, you know, creating that safe space for them is something that I'm really passionate about. But I think forgiveness for me is probably one of the most important tools to have in your life, because I think we all, like you said, you mentioned earlier about your beliefs, and you make the choice to believe those things. So again, you have a choice to forgive, you have a choice to let go, you have a choice to surrender, you have a choice to love. And we all came here to learn. And if you can imagine anything that's happened to you, whether it's something you did that you think's wrong, or someone's done to you, you start to look at it from a whole different perspective of, well, I chose that, and this person's meant to help me grow. And you start to see it from such a light, loving perspective. And then there's a quote from the Bible that Wayne always says. He says, forgive them, for they know only what they do. It's like, they only know what they know how to do from the conditions of their life. You don't know how they were brought up. You don't know what their belief systems are. You don't know if they have boundaries. So you just kind of have more compassion for people, and you think, okay, that person said something mean to me and it triggered me. It made me angry, but I allowed them to make me angry. So I can step away from that now and say, why did they allow them to make me angry? So you just start to own and honor your own journey, and that no one can make you feel anything you don't want to feel. So, you know, and it goes, and then like obviously with forgiveness comes in the ego. And I always say the ego's default is being offended. So it's constantly looking to be offended. And social media is the best place to go, I think, because I actually posted, was it yesterday? I was like, you know, let's stop using social media as a platform to project, because you see it all the time. You see it on comments, on posts, on stories, and you can feel how someone's feeling. Like, you know, they're in pain, you know that they're angry, you know that they're in resentment, and they're using social media as an outlet to projection instead of going to the mirror or going to the journal, going into nature. So I think now more than ever is ego's going wild, because it's got this platform of social media where it can just constantly be offended.
Yeah, it's like full of backseat drivers.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think, you know, it's like, yeah, that is the part of when someone feels disempowered, is it's much easier to, yeah, like say, point the finger and make somebody else the the reason, right, for feeling this way. Like, I remember years ago, just before I ever had really done any emotional work, and I always felt like I was just cool all the time, just chill all the time, like nothing bothered me. People would do stuff and I'd just be like, oh, it's fine. And I was just so disconnected from my emotions. And then it would be like, at some point, the littlest thing, and I would just explode like volcano. And it was never about that thing. It was about all the times where I had actually, like, you know, overridden my own boundaries, not honored what I needed, not spoke up for what I needed, not even believed that I was worthy of needing anything. You know, it was all really about me and how I had betrayed myself. And then whoever was there in that moment was the scapegoat for my rage. That was, I didn't have the capacity to, or the tools to process and I didn't, it was too big for me to look at, you know. And I think that this is the thing, is like, we do have choice, we always have choice, but if we are living unconsciously, then we are just reacting. And until we incorporate tools to make the unconscious conscious, and to switch up and clear the debris, so then we get the choice to respond. Because once we've healed, we're less triggered, right? We've healed a lot of the stuff that leads us to project and be triggered and do all this stuff. Then we can actually choose to respond differently. And that's when we get freedom in our lives. And that's when we have choice, really.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Where you mentioned reacting and responding, the ego wants to react and the high self wants to respond. Because I always say I work with a lot of couples as well, and my partner and I do a lot of couple work because of the consciousness and things. I remember saying to, clients that the issue with a lot of relationships now is communication. We listen to respond instead of listening to understand. And I created this 2-minute rule where it was like, if you have to have this chat with your partner, it can kind of escalate into an argument quite quickly because you're trying to get your point across. And instead of listening to your partner, you're like trying to get in what you want to say. I've been there plenty of times with ex-partners and you're not having that, respect with each other. So I say to clients now, set your timer for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever you feel, and you have 2 minutes to speak and your partner active. This can be any with friends, colleagues, and you get 2 minutes to speak and that other person has to actively listen to you. You don't say a word and then they have 2 minutes and you just keep switching like a ping pong match until it's resolved. Because otherwise you're trying to get your point across, and that's why the voices kind of escalate and you start to shout and then you're like, well, and you rock off and you get huffed and it's just, and then it ends up being days and days and you end up falling out for days. So we've all been there, but I'm much more open now about how I feel, and my partner and I will check in every day of how we're feeling and and how can we support each other that day. And yeah, so that's kind of like helping people to just communicate in more of a loving way and compassionate way. Because the ego is like, it's like when someone points the finger at you, it's like, it reminds me of my old dog. We had a family dog and you used to point at him and you wouldn't say anything and he'd go and he'd growl at you, and it's like, I just used to point at him. And I always use this example with clients to say, it's like when you point the finger at someone to blame someone, the ego kind of spikes up defense mode to go, how dare you? Da, da, da. So it's the same with like when I used to point at my old dog. So it's like, if you just don't point the finger, because I think the whole level of awareness and consciousness, it's not even about blame. It's not about blaming the other. It's not about blaming yourself. There is no one to blame. It's all divine happening. It's a divine intervention for you to grow. And that's kind of when you start to realize you just don't, because I remember I'm reading Wayne Dyer's daughter's book, Serena, because I just love his work. And she says they weren't allowed to say the B word in their house, which wasn't bitch, it was blame. And so they could never blame siblings. They could never say it was he made me do this or she made me do that. And it's such a powerful tool to bring into your home with family, with friends, with kids and cousins and whoever. But I read that once about, if you can take blame out of your consciousness, just and honor the fact that I'm feeling this way because of that, or I'm feeling this way because of something that happened. And one thing as well with feminine embodiment, which I've really found quite profound, is the people pleasing. So I used to say yes, yes. I was a yes woman. Yes, yes, yes. And then I started to then go, no, and then explain myself. But now I say, I don't really feel that, but I hope you have a great time, or can I get back to you on that? I just kind of, it's so funny, like I was always the organizer, I was always the one who kept in touch with everybody. I still am like that because I like keeping in touch with people, but I think with me it was more about honoring what do I feel in that moment and just giving myself that time to sit with it. And if it's something I don't fancy doing, I don't have to do it.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, that's such a huge one. Huge.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah. And it is, it's such a practice to say no without explanation. Or to say, I'm going to check in about that later. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've told clients about it and they sat there like they've had a Reiki session and a lot of it comes up for them about, not letting friends down and things like that. And I've told them to just say, why don't you just, next time someone asks you to do something, why don't you just say, thank you for that offer. Can I get back to you on that? And they go, oh yeah, I didn't think of that, because you feel like you have to give a yes or no there and then. It's like, you don't have to do anything. It's like, you don't have to have an answer there and then. It's obviously if it's, if it's an event tomorrow or something, just say, can I get back to you in an hour or so? Go sit with it. Go meditate. Go, even if it's just something so small, just think, sometimes I want to have a night in with my partner. Sometimes I just want to go and
Mm.
watch Netflix for a little bit. I'll watch a show, I'll play my game, I'll read a book. So it's, or have a bath. It's just honoring what you, and I used to be a huge FOMO, fear of missing out. So I would like want to say yes to everything because I felt like if I didn't go, I'd miss out or I'd miss something. So now I just sit with and I honor myself and go, no, nothing will pass me by. That's meant for me.
Yeah, exactly. And what's even more challenging sometimes is if you've said yes to something and then when it comes to it and you're like, oh, actually, like I've had this in the past where, I got my moon or something, and then I just was having, it was just a heavy day where I just couldn't go and feeling like such,
Mm.
oh God, like I have to say it. I'm going to
Um,
explain how terrible I'm feeling so much guilt and imagining that they're like, oh, she didn't come.
Slagging you off.
Right. When at the end of the day, or they're like, okay, great. Thanks for taking
I
care of you.
know the
That's
ego
something
is
that
just
we,
the ego is a master
yeah.
storyteller. Like it tells you these stories that they're going to be saying X, Y, Z. It's like, no, they're not. It's not. That's
Yeah.
not true.
In my friendship group, we have like we just say to each other if someone it pulls out of something or says no or can't come or whatever, it's like thanks. We just go, okay, great, thanks for taking care of yourself. And
Mm.
I feel like that's just a really beautiful way to respond. And it also opens a space, right? Because again, it's like we don't want to, I think it's much more beautiful and abundant when we're doing stuff from a space of desire and overflow rather than expectation and sort of obligation, because no, it's not, it doesn't really feel good to receive things that
Mm.
have been given with kind of like that resentment or obligation. It's got like a real heavy energy to it. It's just not nice, like it just doesn't feel good. But when someone is giving from that space of overflow and abundance, it feels so good to receive that. And the more that we honor our no and make sure that we're like filling our own cup and taking care of ourselves, the more we're able to give from that space of of genuine giving, not just like transactional of like, well, I'll do this for you so that you do this for me, which doesn't it's just not a good energy.
Yeah, I was thinking that's like kind of the energy I used to be in is like I used to just because I've always been a very caring, compassionate, love helping people. I used to love having my friends around after school, like having dinner and so I always used to think, well, I'm helping you out, like you should do the same for me. And then as I started to heal and became more spiritual in the last like 5 years, it was like actually just doing it because I want to do it because it makes me feel good in that service to others. And that I know that I will be I will receive in ways I can't even imagine. So you just stop, I think with a lot of us as well as a species is that we have high expectations of everything. We have high expectations of work, of partners, of friends, of everything. And when you lower your expectations, it doesn't mean you're lowering your standards. It doesn't mean you're lowering what you desire. It just means you're letting go of an expectation because you really don't know what's going to happen. Like I won't say an expectation, I had a vision of how my life in New Zealand would look because I was obviously 18 months waiting for it because my partner was already here. And I used to meditate and visualize myself with him, with my stepchildren, doing all these different things. Since being here, it's been a completely different thing. It's been better than I imagined. It's been completely, obviously a lot of it is similar to what I visualized, but that's the point of letting go of the finer details and just allowing it to happen because it's you just really don't know. And that's the thing with the unknown. Unknown is if you're a control freak, the unknown is the worst thing for you because you want to control the known. Where I'm like now, I just try and let go of of all of it. We don't have control over anything, nothing. Like we literally don't. We don't have control over anything. So if you can just kind of, I remember Wayne talking about this on a video. He said if you imagine driving your car late at night, it's dark, pitch black, you have your headlights on, you can only see 200 yards ahead of you. So just live life like that. Just what's in front of you now, the present moment, like you mentioned earlier. So there's so much to it, isn't there? There's so much to it and there's so many layers to it. But I think it is about not seeing your healing journey as a quick fix. Because again, we're in a society now where everything's quick, isn't it? Like next day delivery, fast food. There's just, everything's quick, quick, quick. Where I think that's why we've got to bring back to the healing journey of the healing journey is lifelong and being patient with it.
Yeah, and I think that there are moments in time and times where it goes faster and times where it can appear to be like a snail's pace.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just trusting, like I know I remember like before I met my husband, not my current my current husband, my husband. There will not be another one. um, and just I'd done so much personal work by that time of healing and looking at my patterns, and I was like, God, how long is it going to take? Like, it's taken forever. Like, it's this many years I've been single, and the clock is ticking, and and then once I sort of released that that anxiety around knowing when, and just trusted that it was going to happen when it was going to happen, and that I'd done all the work and was doing all the work that I needed to do, taking all the action that I needed to take, and actually came to the point of even being completely like sort of even feeling like if I never actually met anyone, like that would be fine and I would have a great life no matter what. It was literally a week later that we were together. So it can be, and I know other women who have ended relationships in their, late 30s or in their 40s or whatever, and they're like, oh my God, and I want to have kids, and la 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 la, and all this stuff, and like the clock's ticking, and it's going to take years before, and I'm probably not going to have kids now. And then they do the work, and then they meet someone, and they're married, and they have kids in a year. Like it can happen fast, and there are moments in time where, or it's like something you've struggled with for your whole life, and then all of a sudden, like you find one thing, you do something, and then suddenly it's like gone. And so I feel like it's also like having that and not being attached to how it's going to look. Like it could be fast or it could be slow, but whatever it is, it's going to be perfect, and you're not going to miss anything, because it's all, as long as you're taking action, your life is going to unfold in as it's meant to, or maybe not as it's meant to. I don't know if I even believe that, but it's like it's going to unfold beautifully and perfectly for you as long as you're taking action. And we can't control the timing, but we can control how we show up every day and what we're focused on, and how we feel about ourselves as we're doing all those things. That's what we have control over. We don't have control over what happens outside of us.
Yeah, it's choosing you, isn't it? Like that's you have control over choosing you every day, and I know a lot of women who don't put themselves first. They find that really hard and difficult, and I just say, I used to feel guilty for putting myself first. I used to feel it, like, especially when I used to say no to people, or like I'd let them down, or I'd change my mind. I think that's honoring that and knowing that by doing that, you're actually setting an example for other women too, and other people in your life. And that's one thing people would compliment me for, is that I do stand in my truth, and I am authentic with what I need. And especially, like, for example, when I'm due on my period, like the first day I can't function. I'm like, I need a day of rest. I'm in a lot of pain. I kind of get a lot of the just pain, but not like, it's not excruciating. It's kind of like, it's not like birth, but it's painful. So I may have a client that day, and I have to honor the fact that I could not send someone through hypnosis when I'm in that much pain. It's just honor. And I used to feel so guilty. I used to feel it. And now I just say, I'm actually setting an example for my client too. And I say that to them when I send them a voice note. I say, I'm just honoring myself today because it's what I need. And if I knew what day I was on every month, I wouldn't book a client in that day, but it's different every month, as you know. So yeah, that's a big thing for me. I think for women too, is honoring yourself and choosing you, and waking up of a morning and saying, what does Pip need today? before anyone else, because I know, especially with mums, and I've got stepchildren now, so it's like, you know, you need to put your kids first too, and I get that. But if you're not putting yourself first as a mother or a father, you know, they're not getting the best out of you, are they? So it's the same with your friends and your clients and your family. It's that putting your own oxygen mask on before helping others.
I love that. Yeah, so true.
I know. So before we finish, I've all got 3 more questions. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up before I ask you your questions?
No, I feel like we've covered so many things. It's been so good.
So people kind of know what questions are coming. It's so funny. So the first one is, if you had a magic wand, how would you use it to save our world?
Well, if I had a magic wand, I would use it to give everybody a deep connected relationship with their unconscious, because I feel like if everybody had their conscious mind and their unconscious mind integrated, then they would be able to access their inner truth, and they'd be able to operate from a space that was free of triggers and free of traumas, and you know, take really aligned and beautiful action in the world. So I feel like that would make the biggest difference in the world. Yeah.
Love that. Everyone's answer's been so different. That's why I love asking it, because we can like correlate all the answers. It's just such that, again, it's your unique self. That's what you bring to the world. That's why I ask these questions. The second question is, what are 3 things people can do right now to raise their consciousness?
One is to make the unconscious conscious. So clear your trauma, clear your emotions, and give yourself more choice in your life. Another one is get more connected to your body, because the more connected you are to the body, the more present you are, and the more present you are, the more conscious you become. And the third is to find, just find the way that is the most beautiful and easy for you to connect to your higher self. So don't get caught up in like, I have to sit and meditate in silence for 30 minutes. For me, going for a run in the morning, and like, I don't put on any music or anything. I just am out running with nothing. And that for me is my meditation. And that's where I get like a lot of great downloads. And for me, movement is like a meditative thing.
There's no set way, is there? Like, there's no, like, people say meditation can just be like gazing at a plant, gazing at a, doesn't have to be sat there with your arms crossed in your mudra. Right. It's like, it could be anything.
I cannot do that. Well, I could, but I don't want to.
It's not a comfortable thing for me. And I know it's about discipline, but like sitting there with like you, I'm just like, my hands want to move. Like I want to flow and move my body around. It's like, so it's finding your flow, isn't it? And that's the whole point, isn't it? There's no perfect way.
Yeah, exactly.
So the third question is, if you had the world at your attention right now, every single person on the planet, what would you say to them?
I would say you are enough.
Yeah, I love that. Just everyone's, I think I'm going to try and like get all the interviews I've done and just like write down what everyone would have said to the world and just post it and be like, this is what. Because imagine if you did, like, I always think that, imagine if you just could wake up and have the world all look at you, and what would you say to them in that time? And, you know, some people would listen, some people wouldn't, but I think, you know, I ask the question because I always say to people that I meet and people I interview is, what you do matters, and what you have to say matters. And that reminds me that what I have to say and do matters as well. And anyone listening today is like, what you do matters. And that everyone's unique purpose is different and Dharma is different, and to follow it, you know, just because I'm doing something and Sophia's doing something and your friend's doing something else doesn't mean you have to do that. It's as long as it makes sense to you, that's all that matters, isn't it?
Exactly. We need all kinds of people and all kinds of gifts to make this world amazing.
Yeah. So I've loved chatting to you today, and I wish I could talk to you for much longer. And I know you've given me all the links for people to find you. Where do you hang out most on social media?
On Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah, the two main places.
I need to get brushed up on TikTok. I haven't really done a lot on it.
It's a great place to grow fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
That maybe I start to do that. It's just all videos, isn't it? Reels and things, and
yeah.
maybe it's time, divine timing.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I've really appreciated your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Pippa. It's been beautiful.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed our chat, guys. And if you have any questions, please reach out to both of us. As always, share this with your family and your friends. And if you could, service today for us would be to leave a 5-star review. Thanks so much, guys. Take care. Bye.